On September the 23rd, 2001, 8 boats will take part in the Volvo Ocean Race, one of the toughest and most demanding yacht races in the world. This is no ordinary sailing event. Over the next 9 months, these professional sailors will be racing round the world against the worst nature can throw at them, risking their lives in the ultimate challenge. Formerly known as the Whitbread Round the World Race, the event began in 1973 and has been run every 4 years since then, and it's always been a memorable occasion.
Having a full day of the time. This is the Southern Ocean, what we've all been looking forward to. First timer for me, just loving it. It's a big car though. Don't need me, Mum.
The crews place their trust in technology, and this is cutting-edge design. Each syndicate will have spent millions of pounds on this event to ensure every possible advantage over the competition. And let's make no bones about it, people have died out here. The last 7 races have claimed the lives of 4 sailors, not to mention the inevitable injuries and almost certain boat damage.
Can you imagine giving your life to somebody else? And you tell somebody else, well, do with it whatever you see fit.
The Volvo Ocean Race is without a doubt the world's most intense yacht race. It's the Formula One of the high seas. The 8 highly experienced teams have in many cases spent years preparing for this grueling challenge, which involves teamwork, leadership, skill and communication of the highest caliber.
It's those few magic moments and all that hardship. Combine that with that competitive environment, that's why everybody comes back for it.
Oh, and by the way, there's no cash prize for winning the event, just the prestige of having competed in and maybe won what is truly amongst the world's toughest sailing challenges. The race is a grueling marathon of endurance involving 11 ports within 5 continents, where crews can relax, repair damage and plan ahead for the next leg. Between each port, however, there are some of the most demanding seas in the world. Starting in Southampton, the fleet heads across the equator powered by the trade winds to the tip of Africa and Cape Town, home of the first of the Great Capes, the Cape of Good Hope. Then into the Southern Ocean through iceberg fields and freezing temperatures before reaching Sydney. For the first time ever, the entire Volvo fleet will compete in the famous Sydney to Hobart race. But Hobart is just a pit stop for them. There's little time to catch their breath before heading back into the Southern Ocean and on to the city of sails, Auckland. From New Zealand, the fleet makes for Cape Horn, that historically feared location for all sailors, where the balance between speed and survival will push the crews to the limits. Then it's up the South American coastline to Rio, always a popular stop. Let's hope it's carnival time for the crews when they arrive there early next year. Back then across the equator, destination USA, to Miami. Then it's a short match racing leg to Baltimore. They begin again from Annapolis for the transatlantic haul to historic La Rochelle. From France, the penultimate leg takes them to Gothenburg, Sweden. Then in June 2002, for the first time ever, the finish line will be in Kiel, Germany. Here, the victorious crew will win the handcrafted Waterford Crystal Trophy and bathe in the knowledge that they've won the most prestigious ocean race in the world. But for all the crews, that is a long, long way in the future. Indeed, it's over 32,000 miles into the future. The 8 teams are all fiercely competitive and highly secretive of any crew or boat advantage that could give them an edge. With multi-million-pound budgets, all the teams have invested in the best crews available and pushed technology to the limit, striving to achieve the best boat design possible. These are the teams participating in the 2001-2002 Volvo Ocean Race. Assa Abloy is skippered by Roy Heiner, one of the smiliest skippers of them all. During the last race, he skippered Brunel Sunnergy and boasts a wealth of sailing experience ranging from Olympic sailing to match racing and ocean sailing. But probably the main strength of this syndicate is its crew members. It has the winning navigator from the last race, Mark Rudiger, and has recently acquired one of the world's most highly acclaimed yacht racers, Neil MacDonald. But one of the most influential crew members will be Magnus Olson. At the ripe old age of 52, Magnus is one of the old hands in the race, and after vowing to stay ashore, has changed his mind and will be competing in his 5th round-the-world race. He won the 97-98 Whitbread as a watch leader on board EF Language and has been described as the heart and soul behind the Assa Abloy campaign.
How was the start? Promising. Guys, look at this. Promising. Yes.
So with a well-thought-out and beautifully constructed boat, plus talented and experienced crew, this could well be a team to watch. Media giant Rupert Murdoch has given skipper Jez Vanstone his opportunity to make the headlines with Team News Corps. Jez competed in the last race aboard the British boat Silk Cut, but this is his first time as skipper.
Every individual has their own concerns, their own things they worry about, and some of those are just personal issues about sorting out leaving home and those sort of things. So there's a lot of factors to the equation.
You'll be able to spot this boat around the racecourse by the presence of the team's youngest crew member, Bart Simpson. Bart is officially the unofficial 13th team member. The yellow-skinned, spiky-haired 10-year-old can be seen around the boat's hull and sails. But as he admits to having little sailing experience, he's come up with some more creative ideas for boat speed involving fireworks and torpedoes. As the team make their way around the world, Bart will be giving regular updates via the website, so check out Bart's progress. Skippered by ex-America's Cup sailor and Olympic silver medalist John Kostecki, Ilbrook is widely tipped to be the one to beat in this year's Volvo Ocean Race. The major advantage this team has over its rivals is time. The syndicate was originally put together before the last race even finished, so they've had over 4 years training, an amazing advantage.
We sail it well, then the boat goes fast, really. Basically, I think we have exactly what we want in the boat, so it's very good.
It's no surprise the Ilbrook team are the bookies' favourite. Team SEB is born out of the Swedish match syndicate from the last race, and making a comeback is skipper Gunnar Krantz. Having finished 3rd 4 years ago, Krantz has brought many of the old faces from his previous campaign to this new one. The yacht shares the same designers as 5 of the other boats, but they've made significant deck layout changes that are said to make the boat easier to handle on the shorter legs, and this will perhaps give them an edge.
It's harder than ever to predict who's going to be the top boat and the boat to beat. All are very well prepared, good boats and good sail programs, so it's tougher than ever.
However, their form so far has not been as impressive as their credentials, and at the moment this lightning green boat is rated mid-fleet. With 4 previous Whitbreads under his belt, Tyco skipper Kevin Shoebridge is one to watch out for. He's notched up 2 firsts and 2 seconds in this race, and has been involved in round-the-world campaigns under Sir Peter Blake and Grant Dalton. This is Kevin's first time as skipper, and the jump has been a big one, but his wealth of experience will be invaluable to this syndicate. He is realistic about the pressures of the race and what you need to win.
It's a long way, so a tiny speed margin becomes a long distance in the round-the-world race. That's always been a pretty major focus. A lot of the boats have become very similar in design, so you've got to look at all the areas. You've got to have the best design, you've got to have the best sails, the best people, the best weather. But you've got to get all those small things right to get a good result in the end.
Tyco goes under the flag of Bermuda, but it has more Brits on board than any other team. This is the first race where there hasn't been an all-British boat, so perhaps this is as close as it will get.
It'd be nice to have a British boat. We're probably as close as anyone to beat a British boat with 4 members from Britain here, but at the end of the day it's good to sail with other foreign nations because you learn other stuff, and it's just the nature that the way that yacht racing is going at the moment, where you tend to get more international teams.
The team includes Jerry Mitchell, Tim Powell and Steve Hales, all of whom have done the race before, and their experience will add to Shoebridge's. The form of this team so far has been impressive, and with this host of well-known sailors, they could give the other teams a run for their money. So that's 5 of the 8 teams accounted for, but there's far more to the Volvo Ocean Race than you may have realised. The yachts themselves have evolved from cutting-edge designs, and innovative construction techniques means nothing's been left to chance. The same goes for the crews who have been relentlessly training for every conceivable situation. Find out more about this, the world's toughest yacht race, after the break. If the crews in this round-the-world race are to survive, the yachts need to be designed using the latest technology. The boats need to be light for speed, yet strong enough to cope with a relentless battering from the elements. In Annapolis, near Baltimore on America's East Coast, one company, Far Yacht Design, have created the blueprints for 6 of the 8 boats in the race. There are weight rules for the yacht designers to work within, so ballast and weight distribution is a crucial but tough task. In fact, 50% of the yacht's total weight is lead ballast in the torpedo-shaped bulb at the base of the keel. A computer design can, however, only tell you so much. There's still no substitute for building a scale boat and testing it on the water. St. John's in Newfoundland, Canada is one of the most advanced tank testing facilities in the world. Testing involves towing a 7-metre-long scale model of a Volvo Ocean 60 through a tank. By doing this, the team are able to measure the effects of the water flowing around the hull. Water flow creates drag in much the same way that wind resistance slows a racing car. Obviously, the aim is to reduce the drag as far as possible. The equation is a simple one. Less drag equals more speed. But that's more easily said than done. Once the design has passed the tank testing, it's time to build the real thing. The Green Marine Boatyard in Southampton, England is building the hull for Assa Abloy. And as the construction manager is also racing on it, he's keen to get it right.
As a project, you're hoping to build a very light boat, a very strong boat, and a very stiff boat. That's what we're all aiming for. And the difficult thing is getting all those 3 to go together. All Volvo 60s are built of exactly the same material because it's quite a tight rule.
Astonishingly, all that stands between the crew and the bitter seas is a thin piece of reinforced foam.
Basically, there's a Kevlar laminate, which is the same material that goes in a bulletproof vest, for example. Then there's a foam core, and then another Kevlar laminate on the other side. So it's effectively a sandwich.
Kevlar is 5 times stronger than steel. This is reassuring should the boat hit anything like a whale or an iceberg. It happens more than you may think, and as it's 20% lighter than fiberglass, the reduced weight makes it faster.
Most one-off boats, and certainly all the Volvo 60s this time around, have been built from the inside out. So you build a plug which is the shape of your boat, but you make it smaller to allow for the thickness of the hull. And so you end up with this shape like this, which is your boat but smaller, and you lay your inside skin on it, the Kevlar, then your core, and then another skin over the top of it. And then you've basically got your hull. But the problem with this is you have a very rough surface on the outside, and because you started from here and ended up here, you lose a lot of accuracy in your shape. What we did is we built this same plug, but we built it exactly the same size as the finished boat we wanted to end up with, and then pulled this carbon mould, effectively, like a jelly mould, off the plug, turned it up the right way, and then we laid our boat up inside this mould. So we started from the outside, working in. So we had on the outside of the boat, we had the perfect shape and very smooth, and that's what you can see behind you. The yellow colour is the Kevlar, so it's literally just come straight out of the mould, a finished boat. So quite a big saving on weight and also a very accurate hull shape.
Like boat technology, sail technology has also moved on. The new sails are so strong, they can withstand winds in excess of 70 miles per hour. In turn, this puts additional strain on the masts. In past races, traditional alloy masts have often snapped, a dangerous occurrence at any time, but a potentially fatal situation in rough seas. This year, for the first time, the masts are made from carbon fibre. As it's considerably stronger, they should be able to handle the bigger, more powerful sails. Once again, cutting-edge technology will allow the skippers to push their boats harder than ever before.
I think this is one of the few sports that just gain more and more from the new technology that's being developed. But a lot of people think that it makes sailing easier. But it doesn't. It just makes it more complicated because now we're looking for smaller margins. Like in the old days, you're really happy if you can go like, you know, a knot or two faster. Now we're looking for 0.112 knots faster. And we're really happy we managed to achieve that because we can actually measure it.
The final teams competing in this year's race have seen boat improvements and developments at first hand and really do have a wealth of experience between them. Knut Frostad skippered Innovation Caverna in the 97-98 race, finishing fourth, and is back for more.
It's intense, and at the same time we get to travel around the world and be with a group of people that all are highly motivated and enjoy what they're doing. And I can't see what more you can ask for in life.
One of the biggest tests the crew have had to undergo involves wearing pink for the next 9 months. Whilst on the water, the Deduced Dragons team will never be out of sight. Their boat, their clothing, and all of their support team will be wearing fuchsia pink. As you might guess, the guys weren't keen at first, but it breaks away from the normal red, blue and yellow of sailing gear, and now the team seem to wear it with pride. The last boats into the starting box wear the two-boat campaign of Nauta Challenge. Amma 1 is skippered by Grant Dalton. No race newcomer, this is his 5th appearance with 2 previous wins under his belt. But there are strong concerns he's left the campaign too late, as his 2 boats were the last to be launched.
Well, technology has allowed us to be later, be it that we're later than we'd like to be. You know, if you go back 2 or 3 campaigns ago, you had your boat in the water 9 months before the start. Now we're in the water 2.5 months before the start. Now that's not ideal, but everybody's later.
Amma 2 is led by Lisa McDonald, a first-time skipper, but with experience of the last race, having competed on EF Education. Preparation time has not been on their side, but this all-girls team is very determined to leave a mark.
Well, I think we've had good tuning up practice. Having 2 full teams on 2 boats within a campaign is an invaluable asset. If you've got 2 full race crews, you're effectively racing all the time.
Following a 2,000-mile qualifying voyage, the yachts arrived in Spain on the 8th of August, where they were based for 3 weeks of extensive sail testing and crew training.
Trying to learn about the boats and our sails. We're doing a bit of sail testing here, some sail development, sail testing, and also a bit of crew training.
It also provided time for the crews to get to know each other and do a bit of team bonding. On the 3rd of September, both boats finally arrived in England, where there's plenty to do. As a result of their late entry, the pressure is now really on.
Most teams are now having a holiday. We're even upping, you know, the number of hours a day we're working. We're probably up to 15 or 16 hours a day now.
Lisa will be keen to improve on the previous 3 female campaigns that started with Tracy Edwards on Maiden back in 1989.
I just can't imagine going back to sailing with men. I mean, that's one thing I've learned. It is so nice sailing with women. They're much cleaner, tidier. We've just had a great time.
The last decade or so has seen a big change in women's sailing, and Tracy really broke the glass ceiling with all women's teams in ocean racing. It's still generally a gentleman's sport. I think things like the Olympics and all of this offshore racing and the new races and regattas that are coming up recently are starting to broaden the horizon of many others around the world.
Although the boats are very similar, the crew's strengths and weaknesses are vastly different.
These are very physical boats for both the boys and the girls. One thing that we try to work on as a girls' team is on the decision-making process. If we can do one less sail change than the boys can do in a certain amount of time, then we're not using as much energy or strength, as it were, in doing 3 sail changes, but we've made 1 to come up with the same solution, and a lot of that is chalked up to experience. We were quite competitive last time, and for most of us it was our first time around the world, and I hope that we can get in amongst the boys and mix it up with them this time.
It's dark, it's noisy. Sailors are in the water struggling to get on board life rafts, looking out for their own lives and the lives of their teammates. But in fact they're not at sea, they're in a pool. It's vital that all the crews are put through their paces in safety training sessions. These teach them what to do in the unfortunate event of things going drastically wrong.
It's a physical pool drill, 2 hours of quite intense work. The problem with training in a swimming pool like this is it's not cold water. And what we can't prepare them for is this cold water, and this is the biggest problem that we're going to come up against. The initial cold water falling into it is a tremendous shock on the body, and the first 2 to 3 minutes of controlling your body, or trying to control it, is essential to your survival.
The crews know that today's training could save their lives if they get into the desperate position of having to abandon their yacht.
They know they're sailing back to front, but the survival takes on a different aspect of it. We're not here to teach them to sail, we're teaching them if things go wrong, how they can survive for that period of time until they're rescued.
The first essential is getting the life raft the right way up. In rough, cold seas, they'll need all the protection it's designed to offer.
Well, I think deep down they are all taking it reasonably seriously. A lot of them, as I said, have had experience before, but a lot of the crew have never been on survival training before.
One of the most serious situations that can occur in a race is a man overboard. The Deduced Dragons have been training for that off the coast of Miami.
Man overboard is a problem. You can imagine in rough seas, with a boat that's travelling 25, 30 knots through the water, somebody ends up in the water. It's going to take a while for that boat to actually stop, turn and get back to that survivor in the water.
In fact, a boat travelling at that speed would be as much as 2 miles away in only 6 minutes. In a previous race, Steve Hales from the Tycho crew found himself overboard in the North Atlantic, looking at his boat sailing away from him.
You're a bit shocked initially. You sort of have to keep saying to yourself, I am actually over the side of the boat, and it's not something that we all talk about it, and we've all, spent a long time at sea, and we've done a few miles, and you hear stories of it, but you never actually think it's ever going to happen to you, realistically. You've got to remember that most of our experience of swimming is in a swimming pool, and a couple of inches would be big waves. So when you get out in 4 and 5 foot seas, even though it felt very, very moderate conditions on the boat, you suddenly do feel pretty helpless, and you also get very disorientated fairly quickly in terms of knowing where the boat is. You get washed over by a couple of waves, and it takes a little while to recover your bearings and try and work out where you think the boat is.
Depending on what he's wearing, when he goes in, and on where he is, a man overboard may only have minutes in which to be rescued, but just spotting him in the water is a major task.
But it feels like a lifetime. I think in my situation you sort of feel like you didn't have too many more minutes left of sort of paddling away, but you're getting heavier as time goes on, and you're getting more tired. And even where we were, sea temperatures nothing like we experienced in the Southern Ocean, but it was fairly cold, and that did start to become a little issue. I mean, I was certainly fairly cold by the time I got back on board.
A man overboard, especially in rough seas, can lose a team hours of racing time.
In many respects, as brutal as it sounds, it would be very, very slow to lose somebody over the side and to have to go and pick them up. So even if you did recover them, you've lost miles. So probably the fact that you're racing almost encourages you to be more safe.
Yes, everybody wants to win, but everybody wants to come out with a full crew at the end of it. It would be an absolute tragedy to compromise safety for the sake of a win.
Although this might all look very silly, it serves a serious practical purpose. To give the crews a better chance of survival in the event of a problem, they have to be at the peak of physical fitness. These days, yacht racing is such a high-level competitive sport that sailors are selected for specific roles. All the teams have been undergoing intensive training programs. It's all a far cry from previous races.
In the last couple of years, it's totally changed. There's no very hanging off a bar, extremely drunk. It just doesn't work. I mean, if you're fit, you can actually give that extra bit more to the whole thing. The last, I'd say, five years now, it's sort of slowly changed around to being a very professional and fitness-orientated sport.
It's definitely been the longest, most sustained, intense period of training I've had. You know, we're putting some long days in. Yeah, I didn't get home from the boat yesterday until 8 o'clock. And then, yeah, a couple hours of eating and a little time with my wife, and then that's it. I'm done. In bed by 9:30 type of thing. And then, yeah, the alarm went off this morning, and I wasn't very happy about getting out of bed. You know, it's not, yeah, the bed's comfortable right now.
It's very important for the fitness to be done in the morning. But then when they have a long day as well, when they start at, 8:30, and they really start sailing at 10, from 10 till they get back at 5, and then they have cleanup after that. So it's long days, but, it'll all pay off in the long run.
You know, my body has changed since my fin career, as far as where I'm strong and where I'm fat. I'm definitely leaner. I'm a lean, mean fighting machine now.
Tycho introduced me to sailing. I've never sailed before, and I was there with sail testing. It's intense. I mean, it's basically like Chaos 4. It could be 10 minutes, it could be 20 minutes, and from what I understand, if something breaks in the middle of the sea when it's bad seas, it could be on for an hour. So if you're not physically strong and can be able to understand how to work with your heart rate being really high, I don't see how you can really be helpful out in the water when the thing hits fan, because those 12 people were expecting every other person to be just as strong and just as fit and be able to endure just as much.
Physical training isn't the only type of training team members must undertake. 2 of the crew from each boat volunteer to be responsible for medical treatment on board. This race is potentially fatal, and although the crew aren't professional rescuers, this basic training could save lives.
They're going to have to cope with everything and stabilize the patient, get the situation under control, from whether it's a specific injury of someone falling or being swept down the deck, or whether it's a medical problem of someone being unwell with an illness from appendicitis through to headaches, through to eye infections or skin infections.
Tim Spalding is one of a team of full-time professionals with the task of looking after the crew's medical welfare and shaping the guys on board into competent part-time medics.
We need to try and talk through those scenarios that actually may occur that they're really frightened about, from someone getting a severe abdominal pain or a major head injury, and so their fears, we can actually go through them, the things that they're most worried about.
I'm looking forward to it.
You are?
Yeah, because everybody, they're sort of afraid to consult the in-house doctor, so they will take responsibility of their own health. So I doubt they will ever see anybody. Checking it out.
Workstations are set up where the trainees get the opportunity to practice some of the techniques they've been learning, ranging from respiratory problems to broken bones. All of these trainee doctors know that their teammates' lives may depend upon them.
Yeah, well, they depend on you all the time you're out on the water. I trust Kieran in a heartbeat.
In seas like this, aiming an injection or splinting a leg takes on a whole new dimension. But the crews can also call on professional help from all over the world. Advice is available from the Accident and Emergency Department at Plymouth Hospital, and the crew can always speak to Tim and his colleagues through a web-based system giving access to the world's top specialists. But medical care can conflict with the crew's main aim of winning the race.
It have to be a very, very serious situation where you actually slow down. You just got to keep pressing on.
They want to win the race, and it's difficult. Our role as the medical advisors is to keep them going, keep them in the race. So if we can tell them these things don't matter, there's no long-term problems, you can carry on sailing. So we tell them that with some breaks, they don't have to get off the boat right there. It's safe, hold it in a splint, you can carry on sailing. You're only a few days away, or whatever. So that's our primary role, is to keep people racing.
Once again, every effort has been made to improve both the safety and the quality of this most demanding race. 1973 saw the start of the first ever Whitbread Round the World race. 18 boats from 17 countries crossed the line in Portsmouth on their voyage around the globe. However, since then, the race and the technology behind it have progressed in ways difficult to imagine.
One of the guys used to sleep in his bunk with a black umbrella up because the decks leaked so much. But we had a great, it really was a very good learning curve.
Leaky boats, three-course meals with wine, wool jumpers and sextants have long gone. All aspects of the race have been tested, developed and refined, turning it into a Grand Prix sporting event. This year, for the first time under its new title, the Volvo Ocean Race. The first race started in Portsmouth, then went on to Cape Town, Sydney and Rio. And over the last 28 years of the race, the course has often changed, sending its competitors to a variety of different ports. This year's race includes more stopovers than ever, putting additional pressure on the crews. Today, hours in the gym are as equally important as those on the water. But in the past, people have gone to sea with little preparation and often without sailing experience. In the first race, Che Blythe used volunteers from the army as his crew.
By going to the parachute regiment and saying to them, right, you know, can you give us volunteers for a crew, you immediately got rid of all the huge logistical problems. You know, in one foul swoop we had transport, in one foul swoop we had all the food we wanted, and so on and so on. So logistically it was a very good move on my part, I thought.
In 1985, the event was brought to the world's attention like never before. One of the competitors was rock star Simon Lebon from Duran Duran. He joined Skip Novak, skipper of Drum, and after the 27,000-mile race, he finished third. The race hit the media's attention again in 1989 with the first all-female entry into the race. Tracy Edwards fought tooth and nail to get her campaign together. She had competed in a previous race as a cook, but this was her first role as skipper, and she was determined to prove that this was not just a game for the boys.
I did find out, luckily at the end of the race, not as we were doing it, that some yachting journalists had actually had a bet on how far we were going to get, and one of them predicted we'd only get as far as the Needles, which of course is just a couple of miles from the start line. And no one actually thought we'd get to Uruguay, so I suppose we felt we had the most to prove.
And prove them wrong she did. The crew of her boat Maiden finished second overall, the best British result since 1977. But this is a dangerous task to undertake, exposing yourself to the mercy of the elements. This race has never been for the faint-hearted, and in all, 4 competitors have lost their lives during the history of the race. Despite the danger, however, the crews still push themselves to the limits, constantly driving the boats with very little time to do anything except sail. It's a far cry from previous races, when crews played around and even had time to write songs about their exploits.
Aboard the KGB, the paratroopers and Che, all around the world they did sail, marching all day on the orders of Che. He's done it before, but he went round the other way.
Over the lifespan of the race, the ruling on the yachts has altered. In the past, almost any vessel was acceptable. This has now changed, and essentially the boats all have to be the same, but there is some flexibility for minor differences within the guidelines, something each crew tries to exploit. Below deck, everything is pretty basic, as weight is of a premium. There are no creature comforts, and the crews survive with the bare minimum. In the early races, once you'd actually got your boat on the water and your crew in place, the next thing you had to do was find your way around the world with only a sextant and the stars as your guide. Today, the boats are full of computer systems, and one of the major recent developments in navigation is the Global Positioning System, or GPS. This space-age satellite technology enables you to plot your position to within 10 meters anywhere on the planet. Today, the Volvo Ocean Race is a far cry from the primitive races of old. It is now, without a doubt, the Formula One of the high seas, where the boats are built and crewed to the highest of standards. Another aspect of the race that has changed is the food. With weight being the major consideration, no fresh food is taken on board. To improve their performance, the crews now depend on high-tech, lightweight, freeze-dried food to keep them going. New Zealander Cole Sheehan is the chef for Team Tycho. After having sailed in 4 previous Whitbread races, this time he's managing everything from the shore. Not only is he responsible for organising the crew's food for the whole race, he's following them round the ports, feeding their families and children as well.
It's a long day. I mean, they get up at 6 and go training. I'm in the supermarket by 7, pushing all the grannies out of the way so I can get in and out within 15 minutes. I've got to make lunch all day for the guys. 24 guys to go sailing every day. Back to Tesco's or wherever, and then in the next 2 hours just go like hell to get dinner ready by 7. Not just for me, but so they can relax as well.
The food preparation for such an event is a vital role. His team will be dependent on his selection of rations whilst at sea for the next 9 months. It's also his role to pack the food for each leg, checking it's sufficient for 12 people for up to 30 days, whilst making sure as ever that the weight won't affect performance. The freeze-dried food is vacuum packed. This doesn't affect it in any way, but it keeps it dry whilst reducing its weight and bulk.
So it's nice and compact, and that'll go into a 3-day food bag that the guys will take from the middle of the boat, take up to the galley, and that's their lunch for 1 day.
Jan van der Lee is the nutritionist for Team News Corps and knows all about the problems associated with yacht crews and their dietary requirements.
They're burning between 6,000 and 7,000 calories a day, so, you know, it's very hard to be able to give them that amount of food to replace that amount of calories in 700 grams of food per person. They're allowed 9 kilos of food per day, and that consists of 3 main meals and 4 snacks.
The on-board food has always been a bone of contention. Not only does it look unappetising, it's prepared using basic equipment and often in appalling conditions. In gale-force seas, nobody wants to go below and cook for 12 people, so it's no wonder weight loss is common on long legs, especially when things don't go to plan.
Our food, we budgeted for 30 days food. It's going to take us 32 days, and we really cut down on our weight at the start of the leg, and it's really starting to tell now. The boys are all losing weight, and but we're halfway, and we should be in by the 22nd, 23rd.
The presentation is actually really important. If you're presented with a bowl of food that looks like dog food, you know, it's really not going to do a lot for you. It's not going to be very appetising looking. So I'm not saying that they can do anything about it, but if, you know, in the preparation, if they don't mash it up too much, it does make quite a difference.
Wrist action.
Can't stir like that, doesn't work. You gotta hack at it.
It's very, very difficult to actually please all the members of the crew, and when we first start on the food program, formulating the food program, you know, we talk to everybody and find out their likes and dislikes, and we try and take that into consideration. And there's, you know, one of the guys that I remember saying to me he really hated pasta and rice, and he's fresh out of luck, because guess what? There's a lot of pasta and rice. Unfortunately, it's quite a main staple as a carbohydrates.
What's for dinner tonight, Rich?
Yeah, let's even show you. Tonight's menu is spaghetti bolognese.
It's a challenge for the crews to balance nutritional value, weight and of course variety. Although the food is all freeze-dried, most syndicates have worked with dietitians and tailored the food requirements for each leg. Obviously, long, cold legs will require more provisions and, where possible, hot food.
Why don't you come over for dinner sometimes?
In past races, crews have had fresh food and luxury items. Today, the increasingly competitive nature of the event means that although dehydrated, freeze-dried food has come a long way, veterans still remember the good old days.
When I first did my first race in '85, we took bottles of rum with us and cigarettes and lots of lollies. Proper food, canned food we took last time, canned butter. But now it's just the bare minimum.
This one we got for breakfast. Chocolate mousse.
But at the moment, freeze-dried food is a long way off for the crews, as Cole keeps serving up gourmet meals in the Tycho crew house.
You've got to get them out of here reasonably sort of overweight, if you like, because they're going to lose 5 kilos, 6 kilos in the first leg, so we fatten them up beforehand and see what they look like at the end of the leg.
In the months leading up to the race start, the syndicates go through various testing programs. The Juice Dragons race their 2 boats against each other off Miami, whilst others participate in the Sydney Hobart race. Good practice, as it will make up one of the race legs. But with 2 months until the start of the main event, the Rolex Fastnet Race was one of the first opportunities the teams got to really perform against each other.
It's our first time we've got on a competitive start line, all 4 boats, so that's very important for all 4 boats. It is, the Volvo is now made up of short and long legs, so yes, this is very similar to some of the short legs we'll be seeing in the race.
The race is 600 miles long, which is similar to some of the Volvo legs, and 4 of the 8 teams take advantage of this testing platform to see if their hard work has paid off.
I think it's great, everybody's looking forward to it, it's a reality check.
As long as you get the information you need, it's a good test, and certainly Fastnet is long enough to get time enough to test certain sails or certain setups of the boat.
Yeah, it'll be great to line up against these other 3 boats we haven't seen before, so we're looking forward to it, and hopefully we'll be able to learn a lot from them.
As the boats reach the start line off the Royal Yacht Squadron in Cowes, the weather closes in, visibility reduces and the wind increases. Again, it's all good practice for some of the tougher legs, but the crew's minds are currently focused on tactics.
I think it's a port start, to be quite honest. Yeah, me too. Really, it's a port start. Hold on, we're racing!
Sailed biannually, the course takes the competitors from Cowes in the Isle of Wight, west down the English Channel to the southwest coast of Ireland, where after rounding Fastnet Rock, they make their way back to Plymouth in England. Started in 1925, this notoriously treacherous race attracts sailors from far and wide, and in the past has claimed the lives of some of its competitors.
Start, second off the line. Ilbrook did well on the inside, but we're going to catch her. Watch us.
Roy Heiner on Assa Abloy seems pleased with his start, but as they reach the Needles at the western end of the Solent, it's News Corps leading, with Ilbrook in 3rd and Team SEB in 4th. A tough race in all manner of conditions, it really tested the crews. With the emphasis on performance, it's not unusual to remain on watch throughout the race, getting little or no sleep. Although not all the Volvo yachts competed in the Fastnet, it was a closely run event, giving the entering teams plenty of final chances to hone some of their match racing skills. These will be vital in the short American and European legs towards the end of the race. With the finish looming, they still strive for maximum performance. But there's a final twist as banks of fog begin to roll in, making navigation difficult. Ultimately, News Corps were the first of the Volvo 60s over the line.
Interesting race, very interesting race, bit of everything, and great result.
Perhaps Jez's despondency is due to the fact that historically, no winning Fastnet boat has ever won the Whitbread race. Ilbrook finished second, only 21 minutes after the leader.
The boat was great. The crew was great. We made some tactical errors, which is mainly my department. So I need to kick myself in the butt and get my act together.
And having been some distance behind for the majority of the race, Team SEB took advantage of Assa Abloy's misfortunes and finished in third, with Roy Heiner's team coming home last. But after what has been in many cases years of preparation, time is running out for the syndicates. With the eve of the race upon them, final checks need to be made to equipment and boats. The crews must now focus on the race ahead as they prepare to leave Southampton for the first gruelling leg to Cape Town in South Africa.
Well, most people sort of underrate the first leg as a leg where it's pretty easy, but you can get a lot of wind in the first leg. In the last race in the Whitbread 60s, now the Volvo 60s, we had a lot of wind. So, and it's a sort-out leg, where the best campaigns start to show their stuff.
For the youngest crew member, 21-year-old Scott Beavis on Team SEB, there are other concerns.
Yeah, Mum's really, worried, but she's always been worried about me going sailing. Dad is an ex-ocean racer, so he's really proud and really happy and quite excited. But yeah, definitely Mum and her side of the family are a bit nervous and a bit apprehensive for me going to sea. But I tell her about the safety things, and she's slowly coming around. So
she tried to talk you out of it?
No, she's tried, but just never going to meet a chance of that.
But when he's at sea, he'll have no time to think of home.
During the race and when the race is on, it is the most important thing in your life. It's at the top of your mind and what you're thinking of. You're living it 24 hours a day.
It will be a very, very close race. Each time I've done the race, it has become closer. And if you can make a judgment from the experience, I'd say it will be the closest race ever.
Mate, there's no better offshore race in the world. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of hardships. It's a great event with a great bunch of guys, and a challenge to beat the other competitors around the world. Can't be anything nicer.